even by Elon Musk's standards, it's been a very volatile 24 hours. Most notably, reports suggesting the Biden administration officials are discussing whether his deal should be subject to U.S. national security reviews, including Twitter and SpaceX's Starlink satellite network. Now, according to Bloomberg, one way to do so would be through the law governing the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States under the Treasury Department. Now, time is of the essence, Shauna. The $44 billion deal for Twitter scheduled to close 1 week from today. So the timing is certainly interesting, to say the least.
The timing's certainly interesting. I think there's still a lot of unanswered questions. We talk about this every time, just in terms of what, from something as basic as what exactly Twitter's going to look like under Musk to how he's going to be able to secure this financing. We know so far, Pras, he's raised about $15 billion in cash from selling part of his stake in Tesla. He's disclosed in May filing about $7 billion of financing commitments, but then that does leave a large chunk of change that will still need to be raised in order for this deal to close, in order for him to follow through and buy it for $44 billion. So lots of unanswered questions that where exactly that money is going to come from and how he's going to get it. Yeah, and that's sort of more of an overhang on the stock of Tesla stock that he's selling. There's reports he might have to sell another 5 to 10 million in Tesla. Billion in Tesla shares to fund the Twitter deal. Coincidentally, this week they talked about buybacks on the earnings call. Musk saying that the board has talked about it. We debated it. The board generally thinks it makes sense for a buyback. They still got to do the whole kind of the board approval and looking into how they do that. But it's kind of interesting that buyback is sort of coinciding with how much money he needs to sort of raise, in the sense that the shareholders are a little bit upset about the fact that look at Tesla shares this year down 30% or so. So it's kind of like a problem not only for Twitter but also for Tesla. And we just saw right now the Journal is publishing a story about how this will be the biggest hung deal in debt, because the banks are kind of saddled with the debt and no one wants to buy it right now. So it's both Tesla shares and also debt kind of mixing together in a kind of a problematic buy here for Musk. Twitter. And you're talking about things mixing together. I mean, Elon can't stay out of international issues, and this appears to be by design. I mean, he is funding the Starlink internet there in the Ukraine, and said at one point he wants the U.S. government to do it, but now he's going to continue to fund it at $20 million a month. Just yesterday, he retweeted a Russian national security council expert, Dmitry Medvedev, who had trolled Liz Truss. So he can't help himself in staying out of these things. And we haven't even gotten to the fact that there was a Washington Post report suggesting Elon would lay off 75% of Twitter employees. Twitter is now telling their employees, don't worry about that. That's not on the cards. You, of course, are going to worry about that and start freshening your resume. Yeah, of course you are. And we've already heard some analyst reaction. Dan Ives is out with a note saying that you can't cut your way to growth. Simply that is not going to happen. He went on to say that if we do see Musk come in and cut in the numbers of that 75% range, it's going to be way too aggressive in their option, coming in and doing that right out of the gate. And it's going to take years before this XApp strategy takes hold. So if you go in and cut 75% of the workforce, I mean, that also lends a lot of questions to exactly why he thinks Twitter is going to be able to operate with a 75% reduction in the headcount. There are around 7,000 or so employees, I believe, at Twitter, but that's significant of a cut. You've got to start scratching your head and say, what the heck is Twitter going to potentially look like under Musk? Yeah, I mean, he's sort of taking the viewpoint of, I'm from California, Silicon Valley. I know to fix these things. We can do this better than how Twitter and current management is doing that right now. One thing I want to note about the CFIUS stuff is, I was talking to Kiko about this. You have the kind of let's say China cracks down on free speech on Twitter, and Elon says, I don't want to do that. What about your next Chinese factory? Are they going to then step on him on Tesla in order to get him to act on Twitter? So he's got his hands everywhere, but that can be a problem with regards to that sort of thing. National security concerns are obvious everywhere. Pras, thank you. Good stuff.